Jesus more.
My dear friends, today in the Gospel, we hear something that we are very familiar with. Jesus uses analogies that we really know about a woman who is in labor, the pains that she experiences. Um, but then once a child is born, is really forgotten like that because of the joy. The joy is bigger than the pain, such that the pain is really forgotten at at some time, especially when the child is born. Once a woman sees the child, the pain instantly disappears. And I think this is applicable to all to our life situations in every way. First of all, you can find, for instance, when students are about preparing for their board exams, um, it's very stressful. I happened to meet one of the youths who was preparing for board exams, and we experienced crying, getting very stressed with everything. Later on, when the board exams came out and she passed, many people tell her about that pain that she went through when she was preparing for that. It's really forgotten at times like that. I remember also writing my GC exams, and we used to really literally not sleep. We could wake up at 2 o'clock and study till morning, and then go to school and then come back. No siesta. Again, we sleep a little bit, and then 2 a.m. we wake up. And to stay awake, we'll soak our legs in water as you study. Just put a bowl of cold water and you soak your legs. But that didn't work anyway. It even made it easier for us to fall asleep each time we were studying. But we try to do that just to stay awake. A lot of difficulties, a lot of suffering in order to achieve something. But once that thing is achieved, it's very easy to forget about the pain that we went through, the struggle that we went through. And it tells us more again about Jesus himself, the example that he left behind for us, that he had to suffer. Okay, he had to go through a lot of difficulties. But you can imagine the experience of the apostles when they saw him at the resurrection, after being pained, after knowing that they had lost their master. And then 3 days he appears to them and he says, "Behold, I am here with you." And you can imagine the happiness. In John's Gospel, chapter 20, we hear that when they saw him, they so much rejoiced. And he says in the Gospel today that the joy that you are going to experience, that no one can take it away from you, because it becomes so much. And therefore, it's important to realize that even when we go through difficulties in this life, and I know there are people who are going through painful situations right at the moment, even as I'm speaking like this. And maybe those who might even watch online and just experiencing the pain and the suffering that they are going through. And they don't have answers for that. And I always think that, when we go to heaven, we would understand. Now it's so difficult to understand anything that is happening to us. It's very difficult to understand how would God allow this pain that we are getting through, even to understand why there is so much suffering in the world, to understand why people are fighting, why children would die innocently, and all those questions that will make us to question God's love. I always think that in the end, just like Jesus told Peter at the washing of the feet, "What I am about to do to you, you do not understand, but you understand later." I always think that when we cross over to the other life, we'll say, yes, truly we understand why we had to go through what we went through. But again, just to realize what St. Paul says in his letter to the Romans, that the sufferings of this present life, in Romans chapter 8, verse 18, the sufferings of this present life are nothing compared with the joy that we will experience. And in Psalm 126, verse 6, he says that they go out with tears carrying seeds for the sowing, but they come back full of joy, carrying their sheaves, carrying their harvest. And I know it is difficult at times when we have to achieve things, the sacrifices and the sufferings that we have to go through as a result of that. But again, at the end of the tunnel, there is always a light. At the end of everything, there is always a reason to rejoice. And the joy that we experience at the end is always greater. When Jesus speaks to his apostles in this way, he's telling them that it's going to be difficult. But then they must not stay with the difficulty. They must not stay with the experience of the pain. They must always look forward to what God is planning ahead. What they do not experience now, but they are sure they are going to experience later. And it's so important to realize that it is true, the tough times must come. Without a Good Friday, there will be no Easter. Without any sweat, there is no sweet. Without any pain, we will not realize how much God has blessed us with peace, love, and happiness, especially when we do not experience this pain. Let us therefore continue to ask God for the gifts of endurance and perseverance, especially when we go through those painful experiences. Like the woman who is in labor looking forward to the birth of the child, that we will always look forward to the greater pain to the greater joy that comes after the pain, to the greater fulfillment that we'll experience after the suffering. But the suffering must come, the sacrifice must come, in order for us to experience the joy that He has prepared for us. Again, let us continue to ask God for the gift of endurance and perseverance, especially when we go through situations that we do not really understand.
Kiss us, mother, kiss your children. Bring God's blessings from above. With your mantle blue enfold us in your gentle holy love. See the darkness dissipating, hear the trumpet echoing, Satan's rage